All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Appreciate Liberty Township joining us, especially Chief Canuck and their crew that helped us on this fire. So appreciate that. Again, I'd like to start off with all these is like, this is a learning opportunity for us. This is not a time to bash anybody or ridicule anybody, but it is a time to bring up any kind of mistakes that may have occurred. Deviations from policies, all that kind of stuff. That's how we capture this information. And in the end, try to get better at what we do. All right, obviously, Unit 2 was working. This call came in at 8200 Cox Road. Obviously, this is Oakville Junior School. It occurred on Labor Day, September 4th, 2023. The initial dispatch was for a high hazard fire alarm. Get that eventually. So for Westchester, that means 3 fire apparatus, a medic, and then the battalion. So the initial dispatch was ladder 75, tower 73, engine 74, medic 71, battalion 70, engine 72 disregarded tower 73. I think they were logging on their NDT or something like that, and they picked up the run. And medic 71 was responding from Westchester Hospital. So we'll hear in the radio traffic here in a little bit. Battalion 70 upgrades it to a commercial structure fire. Here's the units that were dispatched on the left. Engine 71, they aided themselves. They were on a run also. And then you'll see the other complement of apparatus. Our first alarm requirements on our policy is 5 engines, 3 ladders, 3 medics, 4 command staff for a commercial structure fire. What was received was 6 engines, 3 ladders, 3 medics, and 1 command. If you guys have anything to bring up, I'm going through some of these slides. Obviously, feel free to chime in.
And just for reference, switch out engine 45 with engine 93.
Okay, engine 45 was dispatched, but they weren't available. Yeah, was that Glendale? Yeah. I think we're trying to get them taken off the alarm card. We've been trying that for a while, I think, without success. Eventually, it was upgraded to a 2 alarm commercial fire. So on the left, you see what we received. We see Quint 86, ladder 52, Quint 32, tower 61, battalion 51, district 86, and battalion 110. Battalion 110, I believe, was already on the scene at this time, or pretty close. Our second alarm requirements are 5 engines, 3 ladders, 1 medic, and 4 command staff. And what we received was 0 engines, 4 ladders, 0 medics, 4 command.
Can you invite ropes?
Yes. Stand by all.
But we did have a medic, so medic 75 added themselves to the second alarm.
Yeah.
So technically we did have that extra medic.
All right, so obviously this was an issue that is being addressed with 7Com to try to get this stuff rectified. We are going through some CAD issues. Seems like we've been having CAD issues for the past 2 years, and that may have assisted with some of these mistakes that occurred on their end. I think we're all familiar. This is the school, the layout. See Cox Road, see Oakville closer to the top of that picture. It's a commercial building. According to Butler County, we did not have a year that was built or square footage. The current value is about 3.3 million, according to the auditor's page. Weather really was a huge factor. It did get warm later on, and the sun was out, so that played a little bit of factor into people getting tired. It was obviously hot being in your gear. We'll listen to a little bit of radio traffic. Radio traffic goes on for about an hour. We'll listen to a few minutes of it just to get the gist of what was going on.
I have a fire alarm station, tower 73, medic 21, ladder 75, engine 74, battalion 70. I have an alarm. 8200 Cox Road, 8200 Cox Road, Hopewell Junior, Cross Street, the Fire Road, Manor Drive, ESD 504, timeout 852. Utilize fireground 6.
71 route from West Hill Trumbull.
Okay.
Engine 72 is every call. Go ahead, dispatch for my call also. We're signing off, but we need to come across for WT.
Okay, clear.
Next 71, what's fire route?
6. Tower 73. Tower 73, go ahead. Tower 73, low on, we can't talk your traffic.
Is Tower 73 still needed? Now the 72's picked up the fire alarm.
Jan 70.
Tower 73 go available also on.
Tower 73, go available.
73 is good.
Next, education facility, we do have some kind of building, popular, early class building. From the roof, exiting what's in that stand, fire exit.
Okay, clear.
Engine 74 route.
This is the forecast.
Thing 70 upgrade this to structure fire.
Okay.
Next 71, 360 complete, the building is evacuated, you have mobile alarm.
Okay, you're clear. Can you ascertain that smoke?
It's hard to say, it's rooftop on the Bravo Charlie side, could possible AC unit.
Okay, you're clear. But it is black in nature, not white, like steam.
Correct, black smoke.
Engine 71, we're gonna be clear of the call. Village Center, Atlas to the Structure Fire Center for MDT will respond shortly.
Okay, you're clear.
Just tell me what happened. Structure fire, Hamilton County engine 45, Warren County engine 56, Butler County engine 112, Warren County medic 52, Butler County medic 112, Butler County tower 113, tower 73, structure fire 8200 Cox Road, Hopewell Junior Elementary, Charter, Oak is across Street, Manor Drive, the SC is 504, timeout at 57.
These are our fire ground checks. Tank 72, medic 71, can you spot a hydrant that's closest to that location?
That's okay.
Smoke off the roof.
75, on-scene smoke shot from the roof.
85 going to drive, taking the Bravo Charlie corner, we're heading to the roof.
You're clear on Bravo Charlie corner, heading to the roof to that gate.
Right, 71 staying by the hydrants on the north side entrance.
Engine 71, when you get a second, you send that run to our MPT, show us responding. What fire ground?
Fire ground 6, I'll show you around.
With tank 70, I'm clear on that. Engine 72, you clear, let's get a, stand by that hydrant, we'll see where we need to take it once ladder 75, where they're at.
Well, 6.
Clear, okay, sorry. Ladder 75.
7 Tom T71 in route. They're off fire ground.
Chief 71 rounds, 859.
And at 72, get in the kitchen area, it looks like he's coming from, roof vent.
Engine 72's got a hydrant out here on Cox Road. We're letting into the water 75. We will be like water pump Charlie while people line up on 311.
The tank 70, I'm on scene. I'll shoot command on the fire ground.
Lieutenant 70 with command on scene, 900.
Guys, I believe there is a hydrant back there on the Charlie side of the property.
Yeah, there is. Command ladder 75, let's get down, let's get in this door right here.
You're clear, we're gonna, like, that thing is coming from the kitchen area, we're making sure.
Okay, that's affirmative. Command all units, I'm setting up command on the Charlie Delta corner. Command will be on the Charlie Delta corner. We do have what appears to be a working fire in the kitchen area. Ladder 75 will be making an interior attack here in a second. Command engine 72, I'm gonna put you with ladder 75. You've got OC fire attack on. from ladder 75, you'll be route supervisor.
Say if I clear.
Clear.
Hey, Commander, we got knock keys for this building?
Knock showing on the Delta entrance.
That's permanent. I don't have a key in my vehicle, so you're gonna have to have your operator or medic to get it out of the ladder 7. Just forward that door.
That's 72. Got a good connection on the hydrant.
Yeah, you're clear. Medic 71, you're gonna be my IRIC.
Go IRA. Next to verify, you said ready for the hydrant.
And the 72 operator, the hydrant, go ahead and charge it.
Engine 74 is approaching. We're gonna take that south driveway, get that hydrant on the back of the property we were set up.
Okay, that's permanent. I'm right in front of that. There's plenty of room back here for you to hit that.
All right, shows on the kitchen's right there, that Charlie Delta corner as well.
Correct. You're gonna be my search crew. As soon as you get in there, I need a search.
Engine 59. Engine 74.
59, I'm gonna have you come all the way in. You're gonna team you up with engine 74. You guys complete a search of this building.
74 10. 72 on 10. 72.
Medical mode approaching. Medic 112, you're gonna be my EMS unit. Command Battalion 110, I'm gonna make you Charlie Division. You oversee the fire operations right over there at that door.
Now it's okay, I'm Charlie.
Warren Capital, Battalion 56.
Battalion 56, I'm gonna make you my safety officer. Engine 112, come on in. I need you to be my RIC crew.
Tower 73 is approaching.
Tower 73, make your way to the Charlie side. Set your truck up if we have to get to the roof, but you're gonna be my first on deck crew. Actually, I need a backup line. Take a backup line and back up this crew, take my hose line in.
You're clear.
Engine 71, we're approaching from the north.
Engine 71, you're clear. I'm gonna have you team up with Tower 73. You both get a backup line in service, back up this hose line going in. Meet with Charlie Division, they're in charge of that area.
Engine 71's clear. We're coming in the north entrance, reporting to Charlie with Tower 73 in the backup.
Engine 74 operator, once the power gets in here, okay. You can take your, engine dick over there near them, to have a backup line near them.
Fire ground 6. Fire ground 6. I won't go for you first.
And 71 on the same.
This is 71. On 6.
I think this is level 1.
71 safe ground. It's all okay. It's all okay.
952, you'll be rehab. You're clear with rehab. Commander Charlie, give me an update as soon as you get one there.
Okay. Hopewell Command 7 notify, school officials that we do have an active fire in their building.
Okay, clear.
Command T-71, level 1.
Interior Commander.
Good.
I've got heat in here. Go looking for the scene of the fire.
Okay. Commander T-71, if you can take accountability, please. Tags are being located at the first two men.
T-71 copy. Accountability tagged at the first two.
Lieutenant Ashcroft, we made entry.
Command Tower 113, you're my first on deck crew.
Fire town command, located the fire, coming in the ceiling, front of the locker room.
Okay, I've got you located the fire in the ceiling towards the front of the kitchen, is that correct? Go ahead, safety.
Have your interior search for front of any rear doors inside.
Okay, you're clear. Search, you clear on that? Start opening up. We're getting water on the fire. I can see it converting. Tower 113, let's get you on the roof and do a roof report for me.
Fire 113, Bay Ridge.
Surface is clear. Before we start leaving the building, it'd be nice if we could get a line over the door on the other side too.
Go ahead,
Go ahead, Matt.
The second alarm, staging area will be the church next door.
Okay.
Command control,
Go ahead for command.
so. The engine one ring of fire. We'll get another line. This is probably the ceiling.
Okay, I got, you're getting good water on the fire in the ceiling. I didn't get the second part.
We'll get this second line in place. Catch up the first line, probably close over it.
Okay, you're saying you need to get a second line in place and back out the first line?
Command, we got a second line off 74. They're gonna stretch this out here.
Okay, clear.
Okay, clear.
G62 is level 1.
T-52, you can make your way to the command post.
Next 74.
Medic 74, you can just, never forget.
Okay, we'll be responding to the short school hospital.
71 is command, we need more hooks. Need hooks inside.
Repeat engine 71.
We need hooks to the entry door with the second lines.
Okay, Tower 73 operator, can you get them some hooks to that doorway right there?
That's part.
Command and Charlie, it looks like you're getting, good steam conversion back here. How's it looking in there?
Matt 74, go ahead.
So it's available and in the Cherokee Fire Conference.
Okay.
All right, so I think that gives you guys a pretty good indication of what went down. Unfortunately, firefighter Helwig is not here today, he's off. To talk about his portion of this. We don't focus a lot in Westchester as far as initial size ups with medic units, and we definitely should do a better job of that. But I do believe that, and I've told Helwig this myself, that I think he did a great job with his size up. Especially for somebody that doesn't just do it all the time like company officers and battalions do. So, well done, especially, thinking that it was just a fire alarm and coming and actually seeing the fire. I think he painted a pretty good picture about what went down and what he was seeing. This is his CAN report, according to AAR. Condition, smoke showing on the roof, Charlie Delta corner, unknown fire location. And then I put actions and needs. So again, this is kind of like a talking point for Westchester guys, and obviously for our mutual aid that get this AR report. It's critical that you guys put the action and needs down there, right? No matter what we're doing, there is some kind of action we're doing. It's something that we believe that we may need to effectively complete that operation. So Helwig didn't put that in the AR. I just want to, and you'll see this in a couple other ones that we do. Again, all the information we can gather, the better off we will be.
But that Jason, that like his actions, like this will be an offensive fire attack.
No, I'm talking about like just like his thing. So what he was doing, like he was spotting the hydrant, their IRIC, all those things that he was doing, and maybe some needs that he would do to accomplish that stuff. Yeah, in his initial report, obviously he just went on with seeing with smoke showing. He didn't declare an operating strategy at that time. So what we typically do in this part of the AR is kind of break down times. Times are kind of all over the place, so I decided not to add them just because it came as a fire alarm. We had units adding themselves and that kind of stuff. So it just it made those times kind of a muddy mess. So I just decided to leave those out. As far as our the fire attack timeline, again, this is the best that I could gather from listening to the radio traffic. About what times they were. We don't have specific times as far as some of this stuff is is said, and you'll see that kind of as we go down here. So dispatch at 08:52. Medic 71 arrived on scene, established command at 8:55. Ladder or engine 72 and ladder 75 arrived, stress initial attack line at approximately 0900. This is after I believe that ladder 75 laddered the building and then made the determination that this was not a rooftop unit because there were no rooftop units on the building and that it was a fire on the interior. Battalion 70 reported water on fire at 09:11. Again, so approximately 11 minutes after. And that was kind of the initial, when you heard it in the radio traffic, there was some initial water application to what they believe the fire was, and ended up at 09:16. They actually found the seat of a fire and then extinguished it at that time. And then Battalion 70 reported fire under control at 09:37. So
It was probably under control way before that.
Right.
It was just-
So it's just one of those things, right? That's the one where we can capture it, right? It's when you say it. So that's just, yeah, I know it's not on the forefront of your mind when you're dealing with a 2-alarm fire, but just these benchmarks. So approximately 40 minutes. And like Chief Tully said, it probably occurred quite a bit before then.
Like, I try to be conservative because I want to make sure it's out.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. And that's kind of what they said, like water fire over 100. And again, I think Lieutenant Conley and Chief Canuck can speak a little more on this about what they actually did and what they actually found inside there. This is kind of something I want to start doing. I'm trying to get the battalions to do this. It's kind of captured as command board after the event is over. Again, just to, in the essence of, you know, do we need to better this, right? Is there something we can add, take away, what we can make better? So Tully actually did take a picture of this. This is a picture. And again, later on in further AARs, we'll utilize this a little bit more. But I just wanted everybody to kind of take a look at our command board. We have one very specific for each of the fire types: single family, multifamily, commercial, and then high rise. This is kind of ICS and how it was set up. Something that's not ordinary to us is Chief Tully had a command aide, which was Chief 72. Chief 71 ran accountability. Battalion 56 ran safety initially. Had the RIC crew, Medic 71 and Engine 112. Medic 74 was rehab. Charlie was Battalion 110, and he had worked for him initially, Ladder 75 and Engine 72, which were teamed up, and then Tower 73 and Engine 71. Roof initially, so Battalion 56, later on in the event, Chief Tully made him roof and took safety away from him because he was on the roof, and there ended up being a small roof fire up there that they had to take care of. And initially Battalion 1 or Tower 113 and Engine 93 were assigned to him. Search was Engine 74 and Engine 59. Staging was Chief 61, and event was District 86 and Quint 86. Again, this is just kind of the initial how this thing played out.
And I know that we haven't really truly initiated blue card. The blue card
Model.
yeah, thank you. That Chief 72 would have been the senior advisor by blue card. And then I don't think that they have a safety officer in that, the safety officer is
The division twos.
Yeah.
But right now, so this is what you're seeing here, and this is good. I'm not taking away from anything, right? We're blending a little bit together right now, our policy and blue card, and we're seeing how that works. Just because right now, I know that Chief Canuck knows this, but our company officers and command staff are all going through blue card right now. So they're kind of saturated with it. And obviously it's going to bleed out into how we go to work. So you did hear some of the radio traffic that's not the norm in Westchester. It's more blue card-ish. And again, I think some of those are really good. And we are obviously working on forming a committee, going through our policies and amending them as needed, as we see fit, as we start adopting blue card officially.
We're kind of in that gray area, right?
We're definitely in a gray area. That's a fact. So incident summary, so benchmarks given over the radio, size up again. Initially, It came in as a high hazard fire alarm, and I believe that firefighter Helwig did a really good job on painting that picture for the incoming units, especially when I know he turned the corner and did not expect to see fire coming from the roof or smoke coming from the roof. So, well done on his end. Command was established with location. Again, I think throughout this, I think Chief Tully did an excellent job with good radio traffic. It was clear, it was concise. So I think, and again, I think I think we had one person in the whole AARs that were submitted that talked about a lot of radio traffic. We usually get a lot more than that. So job well done as it pertains to that issue. 360 was complete. Again, Helwig did a great job doing that secondary radio report about the 360. We mentioned order on fire. RIC was established, primary all clear, R's completed, and then fire under control.
I think there's also a secondary search as well.
Yeah, later on, yeah.
Completed.
Yep. So again, let's just recap this before we get into the critique forms. Dispatch a high hazard fire alarm, X71 arrived on scene, reported smoke seen from the roof. And again, I think initially, firefighter Helwig thought that was a rooftop unit, which was certainly understandable. Battalion 70 upgraded to a structure fire. I don't know if you heard in this radio traffic, it kind of cut some stuff off, but Chief Tully asked, oh yeah, he did, right? Ask about what that smoke looked like, right? Just to kind of probably confirm in his mind what he was going into. So that leads me to another thing, when we're doing these 360s, right? You know, heavy black smoke showing, right? White smoke showing, like those words, those things that you say, they mean something.
Yeah.
So, and be as descriptive as you can. Let's see, ladder 75. So they arrived on the scene, and they immediately laddered the building on that, what would be what the Bravo Charlie corner to check that smoke. And then you heard Lieutenant Conley's radio traffic saying that, you know, it's coming from the vents. That was probably an interior fire. Ladder 75 and engine 72 set up the high-rise pack, forced the door, made entry. There was some communication of the Knox box, and I'll let Conley talk about that a little bit later, about his thought process in using the Knox box key instead of forcing the door immediately, or maybe that was going on in conjunction with that ask. I'll let Conley talk about that a little bit later. They did use the high-rise pack instead of stretching pre-connect, and I think that was the right move. We'll talk about estimating the stretch again later on. Battalion 110 was assigned Charlie. Engine 71 and Tower 73 were backup line. I believe that's straight. They stretched that off engine 74. They located fire in the locked room storage area. Fire extended to the metal decking and was extinguished. These were kind of the initial assignments. I won't go through all of them. But Chief Tully did again a great job kind of breaking all this stuff down, especially coming to a 2-alarm fire. All right, so obviously Chief Tully was the first one on the scene. If you want to go ahead and give your impressions, what went down.
The smoke wasn't a tremendous amount of smoke. So the building itself was holding that smoke inside. But obviously we knew if it was that big a building and there was smoke showing, that there had to be something seriously going on inside there. So you probably heard Sean ask for the Knox box key, and I said, well, it's over here, but you know what, just force the door. Because I knew we had to get in there pretty quick. You saw that I broke down the crews right away and put them together on a large building, and then I assigned division supervisors. That worked out. You said about the radio traffic not being tremendous. Well, that was because we had those group supervisors, and I think for the most part, guys did a good job of just face-to-face with those group supervisors. But that's just something to keep in mind when you do have that group supervisor. Try to face-to-face with him unless you have an emergency. Other than that, I think they got the line inside and got water on the fire pretty quick and knocked it down. Like I mentioned in the radio traffic, you could see the smoke converting to steam, but then it switched back. So I let them know that as well, to know that something's still going on because it switched back, the smoke changed. And I think you got pictures in here.
I didn't get it.
The reason that occurred probably is there was a mezzanine that was over the locker room and the actual fire was in a closet in the locker room. But that mezzanine connected the two, so when they flowed water into that mezzanine, a lot of that water bounced off that wall back into the closet where the fire actually was. So they were getting some conversion and they were getting some water on the actual seat of the fire without even realizing it. And then when they realized to get in that closet, they actually just mopped it up and finished it up. So, great job by those guys searching. Sean will talk here in a minute, but I know, and Zimmer's not here today, but Zimmer really noticed the heat of the wall on his gear, which kind of clued them into where the fire was as well. So great job by all those crews. I put you all together because it's a big building and I'd like for us to be together and work with each other because I know moving those lines in those size buildings is not the easiest, so.
I do have some police body cam footage that I will, give me 1 second, I didn't pull it up, so that's mine. My apologies, but it kind of shows you what that smoke looked like. And I think at this point in time, when the officer arrives with this body cam footage, they have the initial line in that door. Here. Everybody see that? The picture of the officer in the cruiser?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. We'll just play this for a second, just kind of show you what was actually seen here. He's reporting to the, he's going to like the Charlie side of the building here. So I think it just gives you a pretty good visual representation about what you were seeing. Is that about right, Tom? Yeah. So it looks like the initial line was just getting in the door. I don't know. He doesn't get close enough to identify these firemen. I don't know if that was engine 72 or maybe ladder 75 screw taking that initial line in that door. But again, I think it just gives you a representation about what smoke was seen here. Are you?
Yeah, I'm good, I think,
Good.
other than the things you'll probably bring up at the end.
Yeah. All right, Sean.
Positive. Yeah, so initially with the size of being the Bravo Charlie corner of the building with a possible HVAC roof fire, we made the decision to just kind of come in dry. Given the size of the building, we didn't lay off because we weren't quite sure exactly where the fire was. So that's why we chose to go to the roof real quick to see if it was kind of just an HVAC unit on fire. We could probably hit that with a water can and not need to lay off a ton of hose and all that stuff. But as soon as we got to the top of the roof, which was about the time that Brandon was saying, hey, maybe you guys should go inside. It looks like it's an interior fire. It was the same time we managed to kind of get up to the top of the roof and look and just see kind of the smoke coming out of kind of just your typical roof vent, right? And I think there was some confusion on whether it was a kitchen area or not. I know my original radio traffic said it was in the kitchen, and that was just based on the type of roof vents that were up there. And I knew somewhere back there was a kitchen, but that kitchen is more on the Charlie Delta corner. And this was more kind of center of the Charlie side where the fire was. The advantage we had, I guess, by going to the roof first instead of going interior first was I got a good idea where those vents were. And as soon as we got down from the ladder and pulled kind of the 2.5 and high rise, I had a very good idea of what door we needed to get into. Kind of if there was a Knox box in the back, that would have been nice to be able to pull that. But where the Knox box was on this building, there was no way that anybody was going to be able to get to that Knox key quick enough to, make it useful for us. So we kind of chose a door that we were probably going to force. It was the first door, right? Kind of there's a little bump out kind of on that Bravo Charlie corner. I looked in the window that was to the left of the door we forced, and I could see some light smoke in there, but no fire, and I could see the back wall through that window. So I figured it probably wasn't in that room, and that's why we forced the door that we did. So we forced that door. It took a little bit because it is a commercial metal door that we forced, but we got that forced. A little difficulty was added with the fact that it had an actually really good closer on it. So kind of as we would get that door started to be forced there, it would shut itself there. So we eventually got that open and forced. And by then, Engine 72 had married up with us, helped us kind of get the line flaked out and ready to go in. Right when you enter that door, there is like kind of a 3/4 wall. And that held a lot of the smoke and the heat back. So when we opened it, we were pretty much, 3 feet and then a wall. So we initially kind of just bled the air out of the line directly into the roof area of that locker room. And then that locker room, once we rounded that wall, had basically zero visibility from kind of the smoke, but we could kind of tell from legs hitting and us hitting the lockers eventually when we got in there, and the benches that were in there, that we were in a locker room. There was a decent amount of heat in there, but not super high heat. Using the tick really helped because I could pan up there and see it was hot enough to colorize the tick screen, but not enough that it was obvious that there was fire above us. There was some heat above us. So and you could see as Noah kind of hit that with the line there, it would immediately get rid of that color on the tick. But even better, that tick was able to I was almost able to see the texture and knew there was a metal roof decking above us. So we didn't have to like pop drop ceiling or anything like that. So I figured there wasn't anything on fire above us at that point. So we made it to whether you call it the front or the back of the locker room, depending on whatever you want to call it. But we made it to that back of that locker room. And basically there was really nothing above us at all that we could see. So we exited kind of the locker room right into that hallway, which did have a drop ceiling. We popped that drop ceiling and kind of immediately got hit with more smoke. That ceiling, that hallway we went into was basically clear. There was definitely haze in there, but it was, for the most part, it was clear. So we could kind of look left and right and see that there wasn't anything going on in the hallway. So we pretty much popped that ceiling right there above that door and kind of got a good amount of smoke and some pretty decent heat out of there. So we kind of sprayed up into there. There was kind of an opening right near that mezzanine, kind of in between the concrete wall. And I think that's where we kind of inadvertently started hitting a little bit of the seat of the fire from there. But it definitely, the line definitely took care of some of the heat, but not a lot of it. So then we went back into the locker room, and that's when Lieutenant Zimmer kind of made the comment of like, man, this wall is really hot. There were 2 offices in that locker room, and both of them were locked. So at that point, we needed to bring in some irons and again force some more doors. Luckily, I had firefighter Fennec with me from Engine 72, who has freakishly long arms. So he was able to pop out kind of like some vent grates on one of the doors, and with his extra long, stretchy arms, reach up and grab the door handle and open that room. And that was the room where the actual fire was. So as soon as we opened that, we could see ceiling collapse, high heat, and you know, a lot of charring. So we kind of focused most of our efforts in there at that time. And that's where we got the bulk of the fire kind of extinguished there. And then they just kind of had that roof fire to deal with.
No, good job. Again, we'll talk about some of the stuff that you mentioned at the end, but yeah, well done.
Yeah, we chose just basically because it is a large building, and kind of where our truck was set up. It was kind of one of those where I didn't want to risk running out of hose by pulling a pre-connect, so that's why we went with the high-rise pack, was just because we weren't quite sure exactly how deep into the building we were going to have to get and what we were going to encounter. So it was a decision to choose high-rise pack over a pre-connect.
Yeah, well done. So I know I talked to you and Lieutenant Zimmer about how much hose did you end up pulling off? 2.5. Because I know you pulled 2.5 and then you finished it with just one section, right? With the 2-inch.
Yeah, we had probably about 300 feet of 2.5 off, and then just one section of the 2-inch hooked up to that. Because at that point, when they finished hooking it up, we were just finishing forcing the door, and we could tell it was going to be a little bit closer to that entrance than initially we thought. So we had plenty of hose.
Yeah, and again, when we talk about estimated stretch, obviously not enough hose is terrible, right? That's worst case scenario. Too much hose can be bad also, especially when you're talking about line management, like inside of a building. But in this scenario with the parking lot, they have plenty of room to get that hose stretched out. And then obviously they had 2 companies to be able to operate and move that 2.5-inch line. So yeah, well done. Lieutenant Zimmer is off also today. Anybody on engine 72 like to add anything, talk about anything?
I got firefighter Fennec here who was on engine 72 at the time. So
Perfect.
Yeah, we pulled up, the 5s were pulling the 2.5 off. We were over, by the time we met up with them, forcing the door, and they were doing a good job on a pretty tough door. While they were doing that, Zimmer and I were putting the hose together, and then they were getting closer on the door. I went ahead and grabbed the rabbit tool out of the back of ladder 75. I knew right where it was, just in case we wanted some extra help if it just wasn't going to work out. But they had the door open by the time I got back, and we went ahead and made entry, helped feed some hosing with them, and kind of just looked around to find the fire, like Sean said, and pretty much hung out with them. And I think Sean said everything that we did, find that fire. And we tried to open that closet door of where the fire was seated, and that really only opened not even halfway. So luckily Noah was able to get in there and put some water on the fire safely, but everything had dropped down from the ceiling. There's some stuff hanging about halfway up the wall that he was working around.
Yeah, so that room had looked like he stored some pads and all that kind of stuff, and obviously part of that mezzanine extended into that storage area. What collapsed was that portion of that mezzanine floor collapsed down. I think they had issues opening the door because all the melted pads, shoulder pads, were all melted to the ground. So I think that's why they had issues getting that door open. But yeah, good job, Paul. I definitely, and I know I talked to you about this fire. I definitely appreciate at least the thought of using a hydroram, right? That's what that thing's for. We don't utilize it a lot. So just thinking about that and going to grab it that's well done. Because again, commercial door, metal door, and surrounded by concrete is not a typical force that we do every day. So again, good job. Lieutenant Ascroft.
Yes.
Go.
Okay, so yeah, we were kind of, I think, like 4th due. Identified on our way in, identified that hydrant that was on the Charlie Delta side of the property, which did not show up on it wasn't on the active alert map. has since been corrected. And I'm guessing that's because it's a private or yard hydrant, even though it's yellow. So we went and spotted that hydrant, got the search assignment. Grabbed the Knox key as well, because I heard about the Knox key radio traffic and figured since we were going in that Delta entrance to do a search, I'd see what was in there. So even if the first due companies had figured out some way to get the Knox box contents back to them, it was only a swipe card. There were no keys. And when we tried to go in, the card worked on the outer door, but not the inner door for some reason. So Deerfield and I had Levi with me. We're able to force that door with not much trouble at all. I mean, it didn't put up much of a fight because I didn't notice much damage to that door. So we got in, did a search. So if you look at that building, primarily from Cox Road back, it's all classrooms on both floors until you hit, say, the back of the house, if you want to call it, which is gymnasium, cafeteria, kitchen, locker room, and maybe some other offices and classrooms. So right as we went into the right would have been the gymnasium and that back of the house, and that smoke was almost to the floor. Dense, dark gray smoke to the floor, just lazy. And into the left is classrooms, which wasn't terrible. So went ahead and did a search, 5-person search, went around, and by the time we went around, we did a right-hand search. We met up with the attack crews in the locker room. And since we had some hooks, and I knew they needed some hooks, we paused, helped them pull some ceiling right there, which I'm guessing was all they kind of needed to kind of inspect above them. And then we continued on with our search because there was already a lot of dudes right there in that locker room and we didn't want to jam it up anymore. So continue with our search, knocked the first floor out, communicated that the first floor was good, went ahead and finished the second out. Second floor was next to no smoke at all. And all the classroom doors, with the exception of maybe 2 in the entire school, were closed and locked. So I told Brandon on the radio that I felt pretty good about not trying to force all these doors. Felt pretty good. They were all locked from the outside. There's probably not anybody in these classrooms, given it was a holiday and there weren't any kids there anyway.
Person ill, line 75, medic 75, person ill, Westchester Senior Living, 7047, North Mason Road, cross streets of Office Park Drive and Liberty Grand Drive, ESE 502 957.
So got the primary search done, came out to recycle. And Deerfield Engine 59, that's kind of where we cut ties with them. They just kind of went into a, staging or on deck kind of capacity at that point. Aside from that, like the camera report says in front of me, the visibility to the right to where the bulk of the fire was, had to use a lot of tick work and just landmarks, knowing how, school hallways are going to be. And there were other desks and lockers you just had to kind of navigate around, but it wasn't difficult. No heat at all, really, but you definitely had to be on air. No needs. We had 5 guys to do the search of a empty 2-story school. And then after that, came back, did some other kind of ancillary tasks, had to go back in and kind of do a smoke damage assessment for Chief Hannafin to see, because the school wanted to kind of know the viability of having classes and how long that was maybe going to be put on hold. So did that, and that's pretty much it. And then my driver, since we spotted that hydrant initially, they laid off from there, came around the Charlie, and pretty much between them and Tower 73 were the M75s over there, had most of the water and hose lines going.
Paramedic 75's route, Westchester Senior Living, 7047, Hampton Mason Road, 959. It's going to be room 201.
That's about all I got.
No, good. Ryan, I think something I noted, just to listen to the radio traffic a few times, is that obviously it was understood you had the pre-plant open, either via active 911 or whatever, and radioed information as it was requested. So I think that was well done, especially for units that are traveling, all the way across the township. Right, we have time to open that thing up and maybe take an ancillary look at it to see what's going on in that building to help you, make some decisions. So I think that was well done. And I saw this, I want to talk about being a holiday, being a school, and I heard this a couple times in AARs that were submitted that, is a vacant building. We got to understand a school can be used at any time, right? Practices, all that stuff could be going on. It doesn't matter if it's a Sunday, if it's Christmas Eve, like whatever it is, there always could be somebody inside that building, including kids. So, but typically if kids are inside that building, there'll be some kind of school representative there. Either could be a custodian, or it could be maybe like the athletic director or somebody inside that school with them. So, but just understand that a school can be used at any time. So again, Brian, great job. Lieutenant Cox.
Our role was fairly minimal. We were coming from an EMS run at Savoy, so we were a little further behind than we normally would be coming from headquarters. But we were given the assignment to assist, to hook up with Tower 73 to deploy a backup line. Since it was known where the area of the fire was and we weren't deep into the school, 73 chose a pre-connected 1 3/4 with smooth bore. We helped with that. We pushed through and got into the locker room area, and there were a lot of bodies in there, which is fine. So what we did after a bit, one thing we did, as Lieutenant Conley mentioned, there were 2 little offices in the back or front, however you want to say it, of that locker room. We did force the one that didn't have any fire while they were forcing the other. So we were able to check that. But then once we knew there was a mezzanine or catwalk, whatever you want to call it, our crew, I reported to Charlie Division that we were going to go on out in the hall and try to find the access to that mezzanine because we're unable to get above it. So usually if it's a catwalk, there's somewhere where there's an access door. So we went out in the hallway, searched a little bit, checked a couple of rooms, and did find an access to that catwalk on what ended up being the stage. That door was a wooden commercial door, about 10 feet above the ground. There was a 12-foot step ladder in the area. So between Shelton and Condi, they did a fabulous job forcing that door on an extremely hard door about 10 feet up in the air. So it took them a little bit, but they got through. The way they did is probably not in the textbooks, but it got through. And they encountered no smoke up there. They were able to use their lights, and about 15 to 20 feet ahead of them on the mezzanine going toward that locker room was another door exactly like it. So at that point, we decided not to continue on. I would say, and I haven't heard the recordings yet, but probably my traffic was on the radio was probably most of the traffic for Charlie Division, just because we were in a separate area. And every time I needed to say something to him, walking back to the locker room and coming back was, I felt the traffic was necessary. Then once we did that with the mezzanine, we came back and I think we recycled at that point. At some point, eventually we did the secondary search of the school, and that was all clear. And I think that was about it. Good. About our actions.
Chief Cadet.
All right. So I arrived, I guess, probably sometime after the second engine. I'm not sure exactly my arrival time. I parked my vehicle way out of the way. And one of the things that you guys do well and that we try to mimic is as a command officer arriving, we try to gear out. So in this scenario, it worked out quite well. So we packed up. When I was assigned Charlie, I wasn't sure initially if I was going to be exterior or interior, and evidently and clearly we went inside because of the where the location of the fire was. It just wasn't feasible to stand outside even at that door and really see anything because of the size of that room, and then that I think Connolly talked about that little jog as soon as you went in the door there, so I couldn't see anything. Another thing that is super helpful that we carry on our battalion is a tick. Our camera was very useful in this event because the zero visibility, we couldn't see anything inside of that room. So having that ability to kind of look over the shoulder of the two companies trying to find the seat of the fire was pretty nice having that tick. Also, as a safety officer, having a tick is also is a great idea. I'm not sure if you guys carry those on your command vehicle, but that's been a couple times now. It's been quite helpful. So I go in the Charlie side, gear up, and I note that there's zero visibility, a fair amount of, I'd say moderate amount of heat. Like you could definitely tell there's fire in there. Looking throughout the whole entire room, I could see fire roughly where Connolly had talked about that mezzanine area. And I saw water application to that area, and that's when I inadvertently called fire out, prematurely, not inadvertently, prematurely called fire out, not realizing that the actual seat of the fire was in the room next to where we were at. We fixed that pretty quick. I think maybe moments later, they had made entry into that closet / office area and found the seat of the fire. So my comms issues, they were pretty obvious to understand me on with my older stuff, and then it was somewhat tough to hear me. I know an issue that we had was the space that we were trying to cover with zero visibility, trying to face with both the lieutenants that were in the room with me was tough. And then to face with the other two units, which was I think 74 and 71 that were in the other rooms, was almost impossible to face with. I know it's kind of the nature of the beast when we run a sector or a group, but it is fairly hard. So Lieutenant Cox was on the radio, which, I mean, that's really the only option I believe he had. So we did face a lot, but again, the geographic area and then just the zero visibility made things hard to figure out who I was talking to and what I was seeing. So the first line moved really quickly once I got there. Once I saw these guys moving, that I think command did a great job assigning two companies to that big hand line. That's something we learned in that the mid-rise class that we took. Line movement was outstanding on that. I was kind of confused when I first went into that area. I kept looking for the sprinklers, and there was like, why is there not water raining down? I didn't realize that building was pre-sprinkler, so that was kind of unique for me as well. And then the other unique thing was I had also called out that we had roof collapse once we made entry into that office area, and again, not realizing that the construction of that building, they had built that mezzanine over top of that office, and in fact the roof hadn't collapsed. It was just the mezzanine, the plywood mezzanine had collapsed onto the door. So once we vacated some of the smoke where we could see what was going on, it was pretty obvious what the issue was. We also had an issue trying to figure out what the mezzanine was. At some point along the way, we realized that there was something there, but we didn't. We even asked, I think, on from command if there was a mezzanine on the pre-plan to try to figure out how to get access to it. The access to it was, as you guys noted, quite different as well. There was really no stairwells up to it. It was all just ladder-based entrances through random doors. So quite a unique scenario. Imagine most of us have never fought a fire in a schoolhouse, and that one was definitely my first. So I think you guys did a great job.
No, Jay, I appreciate you coming out, and number two, appreciate joining us in AAR, participating in that. And I think that we, again, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but we learned a lot. Again, kind of doing this division and sectors and groups, it's in our policies, but again, we just don't run fires like this all the time. So it was well done. Chief Williams is not on the call. Chief Pick,
Ran accountability, the passports for the most part were on the first new engine. I think I had to collect them, just a couple. Ran a par went smooth, no issues there. For the most part, I think the accountability went well, and the passports were, for the most part, on the first two.
good. Chief Hannafin is not available. Talk about his. Chief Bosco is not on the call either. Chief Brooks, are you on? So I thought he was on. Let me see. No. All right, Chief Brooks left to discuss the investigation. In his AR report, he did note that a good job was done by the crews, kind of not destroying everything for the investigation. And we did what we had to do, and then we didn't do any unnecessary damage to impede the investigation.
I know the fire ended up being determined to be electrical in the storage closet from an extension cord, I believe, where the jerseys and helmets and football equipment were piled up on top of it.
Yeah, they had like a watering station for the football team that was driven by think of like what your drill, like those lithium ion batteries. I think it was charging on that, and it had some kind of failure, either being the lithium ion or the extension cord that started that fire. And again, I should have put these pictures in, and I did not. Chief Tully has some good pictures. I'm not a fire investigator, but the V pattern was easily noted.
And just a note for all the crews, I mean, it's important that we try and keep as the walls and ceiling and whatnot as intact as we can, because that helps us determine fire patterns. And if we go in there and rip everything out, then it makes it more difficult. It's always a good idea to try and get a camera in there to take some photos. If you are going to rip it out, get some photos before you do that. It helps immensely.
All right, let's talk about Chief Harley. Got anything to add? No. Chief Friends. Let's talk about some of the positives. Good command and control. Again, well done by Chief Tully. Man presence. It's important, especially on these things. You know, again, his radio traffic that we heard a little bit of was very clear, concise. Effective forcible entry. Again, I think that we noted a couple things out of the norm that we typically do not do. Again, forcing the door that's 10 foot up in the air off a A-frame ladder, something that we do not do often, and it was done well. Again, commercial doors. Again, hats off to thinking about the hydro ram and utilizing that piece of equipment. Great job. Aggressive interior attack by first crews. Again, I think this is Chief Tully setting it up, and Lieutenant Conley kind of initiating that attack. I think was again well done. Good use of tools and technology to locate the fire. Again, TIC usage, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Medic unit staged appropriately for given assignments, and proper resources were called to ventilate this type of building. I think they ended up calling Cincinnati. I was their big fan.
Just remember that unit is now, it's no longer out of Point Pleasant in Northern Kentucky. The city of Cincinnati has taken that unit over, and it is vent 21. It comes out of the 21's house. So to request that, we need to go through Cincinnati Fire Dispatch.
Excuse me. All right, so these are concerns. Sorry. Again, these are not mine. These are from the AAR, as with the positive stuff. Again, so just a sidebar. The more information you guys put in these documents, the more time you take, the better these AARs are going to be, right? So that's what this is for. Talk about issues and talk about stuff that we did well, and to make ourselves, again, a better department. Difficult time getting additional radio traffic out, and this was done, firefighter Helwig stated this in his, we really don't get to hear it because the radio traffic we get is condensed. I'm sure a lot of vehicles were going en route and that kind of stuff, and he was trying to get out, again, that size up in that 360, so. Update pre-plans, especially in high hazard occupancies. Again, I would add on to also when we're doing inspections, you know, take that time, open that Knox box, get those keys out and make sure that they are still up to date. And if they're not up to date, take the necessary actions to get that done. Using wide area search ropes, that was mentioned a couple times. I'll allow Lieutenant Asbrock to talk about his thinking. Again, we have those ropes, you know, or should you deploy them, should you not deploy them, should you have them with you? You know, we don't have very, very strict policies when it comes to those things, right? It's kind of like a company officer's discretion. But Lieutenant Asbrock, I don't know if you want to address that or not.
Yeah, we didn't use any search ropes, given that I already looked at the pre-plan and knew what a very standard layout for a school. There wasn't anything that I felt was gonna make our search more difficult. So we just went in and utilized standard search tactics. It was basically a square in the back of the house and then just 2 straight shots for the classrooms. So I didn't feel like that necessitated maybe overcomplicating it with a bunch of search rope.
Okay. Again, I just want this to be kind of definitely in the back of the company officer's mind, like you're going to a large building, to obviously at least consider that piece of equipment.
Absolutely.
Yep. Second alarm assignment was not correct. Again, we talked about that earlier. I know Chief Hannafin is working with Sevacom to get those issues corrected. Chief Tully mentioned call a second alarm sooner. You have anything to add to that?
No, just it's when you're running command, you quickly realize that all of a sudden all your people are working.
Yeah.
And you need some people to back them up. So it's almost like as soon as I have a working fire in a building like that, in my mind, I should probably call the second alarm because everybody's going to be working at first.
Yep.
And I'm going to need people to just back them up.
Yep.
I mean, and we called it pretty quick, but probably could have called it quick.
Okay, yeah, and I think that, again, I think we've trained on a lot about the high rise stuff and knowing obviously we have a working fire in the high rise, it's automatically going to second alarms. And like Tully just said, clearly that in these type of buildings, it's a pretty good chance you're gonna need more crews, especially if it's a working fire. And I do believe that Blue Card does a pretty good job of doing those kind of things, understanding that when to call these second alarms. And again, I think it was done quick, but you know, maybe as soon as you knew, it could have been a little bit more beneficial.
Yep.
Should have assigned a chief to the RIT team.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought about that afterwards and thinking, you know what, I had a few extra chiefs. I could have assigned one specifically to the RIC team itself. If we did have a RIC activation, he could have just ran it and he would have already been in contact with that RIC crew. I just think that would have been a good idea. I did hold back some chiefs and I switched them out with the division and sector chiefs, which I think that came in handy because they got wore out. I know Miller got wore out on the roof. I know Chief Canuck got wore out being in a Charlie division. So I was able to put Chief Williams and Chief Bosco and replace them as we got into the event. So that's another thing for me to keep in mind, and I'm glad I had those chiefs to be able to replace them, or else they would get worn out just like the crews. So
yeah, I think that's something that, again, we don't discuss very often, but and I think Chief Canuck mentioned it. I was going to mention it here, I think in the next slide, but again, Chief Hannafin pushes hard for us as we arrive to get dressed out, especially if you're going to be some kind of division officer or even safety. Blue Card again does a great job of driving home that point and why that's necessary. And again, Chief Canuck would not have been as effective as he was if he did not have all his PPE on. So again, great job. And again, just think about, obviously, if he's in his gear, going in and out, eventually he's gonna need a break also.
I will say every chief that showed up was in their gear,
Good,
so.
yeah, well done then. Designated rehab recycle station with tents for shade.
So I'll speak on this because actually, it came from Lieutenant Cox and problem is where do we get, we don't have tents. Who has tents? And it's
on order.
it's a holiday weekend, so I even considered the metro route. But knowing that this is a holiday, that wasn't gonna happen with metro. And on days when we have inclement weather, that maybe we need to also make that call earlier too. Getting metro out for using the bus as a cooling station. It's something we don't do very rarely, but if we do, that call needs to be made very early in order to give them time to get a bus out there.
Right.
But if it looks like it's gonna be an extended incident and it's in an inclement day.
Church next door.
We could have, there was nobody there.
Yeah, nobody there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another thing that obviously, these firemen, it wasn't a cloud in the sky, it was sunny, it was hot. It got hot later on in the day, and you're on blacktop, which just, magnifies that heat. So, again,
I will also say that Chief Manwaring came in off duty and responded to the station and picked up a cache of water and a cooler and some ice, and eventually we were able to get some additional water. Chief Gollery even showed up and brought a case of water. So
yeah, I don't think Westchester Fire, we don't do a really good job of rehab, like officially, a good process. I think as we review these policies and procedures, I believe that'll come hopefully with that when it comes to that stuff. But yeah, I think again, we get these guys out of the gear in the shade, especially after a couple miles worth of work. They need to take a break.
Hey, Chief.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I know it would necessitate someone coming to the 74s to do it, but we do have 2 pop-up tents on the tech rescue. Just if they're needed versus pull the whole truck.
Yep.
But they're there. A couple bag chairs are on the truck if we need them.
72 on.
So the additional comment section, this is kind of me. Again, I typically don't interview company officers when it comes to these fires, but on this AAR, I sat down with Lieutenant Conley and Lieutenant Zimmer. I think Firefighter Finnick was there. There's a couple other guys in and out. I think I also interviewed Firefighter Zimmer when it comes to this stuff. So this is kind of like me going through all the stuff that I read, listening to radio traffic, and then talking to those individuals. Kind of stuff I wanted to bring up. Again, I mentioned this multiple times. I'll say it again. Firefighter Helwig did a great job with the size up and then completing that 360. I just don't think we hear that a lot from our medic units. In addition, Medic 71 did a well job spotting that hydrant location. Again, that's part of the policy. Chief Tully, I believe asked for that from Medic 71. But I know when guys are arriving, being a lieutenant, they want to know more information, the better, right? So where is that hydrant? I guarantee you, Lieutenant Zimmer's kind of anxiety went down just a little bit. He's like, okay, I know exactly where it is. That's where I'm laying off. Right? Just that information, those first few minutes, is critical to that operation. So again, I think that was well done. I've said this multiple times. I believe Tully's head will not be able to get out of the door after this training, but again, he did a great job. Clear communication, setting up division bosses early. Again, that's span and control. It can get out of control really, really quickly on these events, and he broke it down really well. Crews assigned to division bosses need to communicate to the boss. So again, I know we don't run these a lot, right? We don't run division bosses a lot. But there was multiple times, we didn't play the radio traffic all the way through. There's multiple times where crews were bypassing Charlie and going straight to command. Again, that's just a natural tendency for us because it's just what we do. But remember, like that boss is there for a purpose, right? To kind of take some of that load off of command. So utilize that division boss. Best case scenario is face-to-face. Chief Canuck, again, articulated it really well. about the difficulty of that and zero visibility. And I think, again, hats off to him with the thermal imaging camera, being right next to those guys and those crews operating, and making those decisions. I can't express that enough. Without that SCBA, without his forethought of doing that, maybe even, dare I say, use the term aggressive, again, it was just well done. Obviously, when Ninja 71 separated a little bit, again, that's going to be difficult to manage. Chief Canuck's not going to be able to run to each one. Again, Lieutenant Cox is not going to be able to run all the way back, especially with maybe the distance between them. So sometimes that stuff will have to go over the radio. But remember, try to communicate through that division boss. When putting division group bosses in place, make sure they know the tactical priorities and who they have. Again, I think Blue Car does a fantastic job of this, right? The task, location, and their objectives to make sure that they understand who they got working with them, especially like Chief Canuck when he arrives on scene. Chief Tully's like, okay, take Charlie. Okay, here's who you have. Here's what they're doing, right? Just to kind of give Chief Canuck a little bit better picture of what's going on. But again, I think it was well done. Estimate the stretch. Large building, right? We do not want to pull short. Second due of that backup line was taken. I think it was a pre-connect. I think that was after determination that they had a pretty good idea of where that fire was located inside that building. But again, hats off to Lieutenant Connie, Lieutenant Zimmer, making that decision. Number one, to use the high-rise pack. Again, should you have hooked both sections 2 inch together? You could have. I mean, that allows for a little bit easier hose movement. But you guys hit four individuals on that line and look like it moved efficiently. The hook and look, we talk about this in live burn training. We talk about this in training. After talking to Noah Zimmer, he did this. Hopefully you guys know what this is. But basically, if you force the door, especially with that smoke volume that they had, that you get that on your belly, right? You hook the door frame with your foot and you reach in as far as you can and search, right? We find victims near egresses, right? And if you do that really quick and somebody's laying there, you can grab them and get them out of that ideal H environment quickly. And I know he did that, so again, great job. We pushed this hard in Westchester, moving and flowing, right? The term default bail open, don't default bail close. I wish I had those pictures. Again, shame on me. We have some pictures of some water being sprayed. After the fact, you can see where water was applied. And again, I think it was great. We have a good water source, right? Just use the water. And they did that. Especially when we talk about those turbulent fires, bi-directional flow, right? Neutral plane, about 50%. You need to be in a tripod position and moving and flowing. Especially when we got 4 individuals there, right, to move that hose line. So great job. Utilizing the tech. I think in November, I'm trying to get basically like a dollhouse that we can burn. We'll do a lot more TIC training. But again, we talked about this. We talked about it in when we had the acquired structure. We talk about it every time we do live burns, right? That color change. So again, our FLIRs, they have 2 modes, right? High sensitivity and low sensitivity. High sensitivity is anything below 300 degrees. That's when we get the best picture, right? So we use the TIC, we scan low first. Once you go up and you see color, then it switches to low sensitivity. That color change happens about 305 degrees, right? So once you see that color, we don't pass color, right? We take the color away and then we move forward. So again, talking to Sean Conley, talking to Gary Zimmer, they didn't pass that color, right? Conley was right next to firefighter Zimmer the whole time, showing him. And I think that's when you initially saw that, again, that steam conversion, when they initially started applying to the roof area, got into that room and kind of knocked a little bit of that fire back. So again, great job using the TIC. And I know, again, Chief Canuck mentioned it also, utilizing his TIC as a battalion and division boss. PPE. So I got a couple exposure forms, and I typically get 3 or 4 after every fire, which is great. It's fine, no problems at all. But some of them were like, I was coughing, I had burning in my throat. Well, then that indicates to me that you did not have your SCBA on, right? In these fires, right, I know that all we want to do is keep going, right? Keep going. You get tired, all of a sudden it's like, well, the first thing that goes is the air pack. You know, you walk in there, oh, it's not bad. All of a sudden you get a little bit deeper, all of a sudden it gets bad, right? So let's be cognizant. Company officers, I can't stress this enough, you know, division bosses, I can't stress this enough. If you see individuals going in there, right, without their masks on, you know, either they don't go in or they put them on and then go in. If you guys are tired, right, and you're too tired to put your SCBA on, then it's time for you to go to rehab, right? It's time to take a break. There's 2 alarms for the people there. So there's enough bodies to get the work done. So don't put yourself in jeopardy, right? We lost a member to cancer. We can prevent some of this stuff. And I know sometimes we're our own worst enemies when it comes to this. So let's all police ourselves. Let's see, I wrote a couple of things. I just want to make sure I caught everything. Decon set up?
Yes, we did.
Yep. So decom was done, which is great. Again, fire in a school, it's a big deal, right? It's not, when we go to it, right, it's just a fire, but it actually affects the community greatly. And I believe that we did a great job of taking care of that. And they're back in that building now because of the work, again, you guys did on that scene. If we had lost that building, I mean, that has impact on the community as a whole. It's not like just losing, you know, another commercial building. I mean, the kids are affected, livelihoods are affected. So again, well done. Does anybody else have anything else to add? Anybody out there that maybe I missed? Questions?
Yeah, I got something. I was on rehab. One of the issues definitely that occurred, obviously that day was hot. We ran out of water for probably 20 to 30 minutes. I know it was reported to command. We were told there was nothing they could do about it. Chief Galler was asked to go buy some, which in my mind is a little inappropriate that we didn't address that issue as a department to making sure that we're keeping guys hydrated and good to go back in, especially after recycle and rehab. We did have also a township citizen did bring us some water, so that was super nice, but we're going to be on these scenes for long with that big of a building. You know, we have police that we could ask maybe to send to go get us some water. I know that there's the credit card for emergency purchases, but that's something that's going to happen again. It's got to be addressed.
So I did have Chief Manwaring call me and asked if we needed anything, and that's why I had him bring water as soon as he could. He did show up with water. And food.
But these will understand, yeah, right? I mean, it's right, it's something we need to think about, right? I think,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely something we need to think about. Safety officers, chiefs that are milling around, you start thinking about that kind of stuff, right? I know that we have coolers on the trucks, those should be stocked with water. Again, that stuff goes really, really fast, right? Especially when it's hot outside. A guy will go through 1, 2, or 3 bottles of water
Red Cross canteen
really quickly.
It did not call.
So again, thank you for bringing that up. I think rehab, just in general, we need to shore that kind of stuff up, especially within our department. But it's something we definitely need to think about. Anybody else?
Yeah, Chief.
Yeah.
Question on the air and light truck. If memory serves, I don't think it's an automatic until the 3rd alarm now. But
Correct.
I still think it warrants maybe getting called, especially on a 2nd alarm fire. I mean, that takes a lot of stuff off everyone else there filling all those bottles. And we went through, I'm pretty sure we went through a fair amount of bottles.
No, you're right, Ryan, and especially if we don't want you going in with no pack on, we should probably make sure that is there. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, well,
we probably need to readdress that.
Yep.
So why did it go from it was on the 2nd alarm and it got bumped down to the 3rd alarm for an automatic call out? Why did that get bumped?
They were having difficulties staffing and getting it out. It's a burden on Ross, or now it's Hanover, isn't it? Comes out of Hanover.
Yeah, it's not in Ralston anymore.
I think it comes out of Hanover, which is a volunteer company. So because it went to a volunteer company, they moved it back to the 3rd alarm just to cut back on the frequency of it going out.
But if we need it, right, again, that's one of those resources, just like anything else we've been talking about, that needs to be called early. Especially if they have to deploy people to the firehouse and man it to get it to us, but absolutely.
Yep, good point.
Anybody else? Chief Canuck, any of your guys, have anything they want to add? I know I apologize for skipping them.
Oh, no worries. They scooted already. Nothing notable, nothing crazy. I just want to say you guys did a great job on this. And to reiterate, command presence was great and aggressive fire attack for the win every time.
Good job. All right, if there's nothing else, appreciate you guys tuning in, and have a great rest of your day.